we got Erik Torenberg from Andreessen Horowitz in the studio. Welcome to the stream, Erik. Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Third
He's
time.
back.
He's
back.
Three-peat champion.
And kicking off a record, has 8 Andreessen partners ever been on one podcast?
I don't think so.
I said Nixon went to China. Torenberg goes on TBPN.
Yeah, look what happened. Look what happened.
You opened the floodgates. It's been fantastic. How has the transition to Andreessen been? We asked you when you joined what your plans were. Are you hitting the ground running? Are you ripping checks on day one? You're a couple weeks in the gig. I expect some sizable checks to be written. What you got for me?
I feel like TBPN is my, what did you get done this week?
Exactly.
Time. It's my third week, fourth week. And no, it's been amazing.
Cool.
I mean, just the scope of the firm, almost 600 employees. I mean, I don't think people fully appreciate all the amazing things that are happening here. I've been spending a lot of time in the different deal meetings of the different funds, just getting up to speed and how we operate, meeting the broader team, starting to build out this media org. And I feel like, I talk to employees at OpenAI all the time. They're like, we've got so many things cooking. And I feel like there's a little bit of that here too. Just Ben and Mark are so entrepreneurial, and that leads on to the different vertical fund leads that you're going to hear, you're going to chat with today and people are going to hear from. And it's just been incredible.
Yeah. Is Andreessen the biggest venture fund ever in history now? I can't imagine there's a bigger one.
I think if you count the original ships that went looking for whales, harpooning, they probably had like something like 1,000 spread across maybe a few ships.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like this narrative in venture generally that like Andreessen's really big and no one's ever done it at this scale before, and like maybe that's weird or different or good or bad or whatever. But the other way to think about it is like, think about the other major financial institutions that are huge, much bigger, sometimes an order of magnitude or 2 orders of magnitude bigger. And are they in founder mode, or are they like 200-year-old behemoths? And all of a sudden, when you frame it like that, I become very bullish on the founder mode organization, even though there's obviously all these competitive dynamics and different strategies. But it is very interesting to see a new financial institution. We got this from when we were talking to David on the show. It was just very interesting to see that this is David Haber, that he came from Goldman, worked on firm-wide strategy there, told us some of the history of how Goldman had developed all these pods. I was doing a deep dive on their special situations group and how that spun up and spun out during the '08 crisis. And like, it's such a storied firm, but I don't think you can get there by maintaining some small size. You have to become an institution. That's exactly what you've done.
And I think Mark's core insight, software's in the world, and the sort of the implication behind that the winners are going to get bigger and bigger, and there's going to be more of them, is it just perfectly coincided with the firm going super big, and you need a lot of capital to support that strategy, and it's worked out tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we were talking about this weird dynamic where you would expect the power law to apply to startup outcomes, and we've seen this from time and time again. It's very obvious, and it also just makes sense based on market dynamics, how power accrues, et cetera. But venture capital funds also follow a power law. And you would imagine that also the size and scale of the firms might also follow a power law as there are increasing returns to scale. So it's been interesting to see kind of that play out. And in many ways, the power law just keeps applying. No matter what lens or frame you take, there's going to be a big outcome. Anyway, Jordy, anything else you want to run through? Can you break down LP Day? Like what's actually going on today? What are we zooming into? Break it down.
The thing I'm trying to triangulate is what's the next coinage, what's the next American?
We got to break it here.
That's the $1 trillion. That's the $1 trillion question.
Or it'll drop as a big piece either in the Wall Street Journal or on a blog, and then we'll get you the same day to break it down.
Yeah, 100%. And today and tomorrow is going to be us presenting sort of one, our biggest portfolio companies or some of our best ones that you have Alex tomorrow coming on the show, Ablania from WorldCoin, but then also the different leads of Jen who runs LP Day is coming right after this, and also just our fundraising, I believe over $40 billion to date, but then also the heads of the different vertical funds.
40 billion. That's huge.
That's the most deserving.
That's the biggest size gong ever, I think. Maybe beaten out by Stargate. But other than Stargate, you're up there.
All in. I'll let Jen sort of go deeper on it. But also just David George, who leads our growth fund, which is done phenomenally well. Martine on the infra side, Anj, who works AI underneath him, Dave Yulovich on the American Dynamism side. And the LP Day is really just us talking to our LPs about what is the latest in terms of how we're doing, what we believe, what's happening in the market, where we think things are going, and it's really giving them kind of an inside purview. And we're going to release some of the best talks. And of course, you're going to hear from Mark Andreessen himself about where we are and where we're going.
In terms of kind of like advice for founders, what is the role of an LP day in the life cycle of a startup CEO that becomes a fund driver? I've seen sometimes where founders go to these LP days and then a couple months later, there's a direct investment from one of the LPs. Is that part of the dynamic, or is it really just an opportunity to kind of come and share like the story of the business with the wider business and investment community?
No, 100%. So we have a very influential LP base. Jen will get more into the specifics, and we're more diversified than your average event firm. So we have LPs that a lot of firms really focus on endowments. We've got some incredible endowments as well, but we also have a lot of other partners, including big international partners, and a lot of companies are looking for, especially some of these AI companies. Anj will tell you about sort of the open source AI companies that he's worked with, looking for these global partners. So yeah, we have WorldCoin, et cetera. So there are a bunch of companies that have international presence, that are growing their international presence and want partnership from big players globally. And some of them are here. And yeah, we're definitely looking to.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that yesterday with NVIDIA. Jensen went to Saudi Arabia, announced some big deal. The stock popped. It might be the biggest company in the world. Is so back. And, Jensen gets invited to these things. But if you're, 2 years into your entrepreneurial journey, you might not get a seat at the table. But an LP day could be an opportunity to meet someone from that community, correct?
Yeah, no, 100%. Ben Horowitz was also there, as reported, which is why he's not joining TBPN today. But Mark we'll give you the scoop there, or perhaps Jen. But yeah, no, there's a lot going on in terms of international partnerships, and so expect to hear more from us on that front.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure the fund is aligned on most of the strategies and kind of topics and hot takes, but there's probably a lot of internal debate as well around how these future tech trends will play out, especially the things that haven't been codified or really decided. Are there any topics that you're hearing the partnership kind of go back and forth on or debate internally, whether it's future of AI or how geopolitics plays out or anything, reindustrialization, different strategies? What is keeping the partnership, excited in big partner meetings?
I'll give you a couple. So one is more of a meta topic, which is this idea of, a lot of people say a lot of things about us, and how much should we engage? Should we just focus on the work, just working with founders, driving great returns for LPs, or when do we correct the record? When do we step in versus, hey, it's not it's not worth our time? There's this famous this rap beef. Yellow once called out Eminem, or maybe it was MGK. MGK called Eminem, and then Eminem was like, "Oh man, now I got to answer this fool. I'm gonna build up his profile in responding to him." And so sometimes it's a little bit of that. There's one example. Erik Newcomer, who, like Ben Smith, unclear if that's a real name or not. If that's I don't want to dox him. No,
don't dox him. Don't dox him here. Don't dox him.
Yeah, we don't dox here. Erik Newcomer, who is a friend of mine, he's a good guy, but on his podcast, he did say, or certainly imply that it was one rumor that our crypto fund has made a lot of its money betting on speculative things and then selling off, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We are not a meme coin fund. We hold most positions, and so that's straight up.
There was at least one good company in that fund, right? Am I thinking of Coinbase maybe?
Yeah,
like the biggest potential one. That Chris Dixon got into it, the seed and the Series A and the Series B and the Series Z, and basically every single round. Exactly. That turned out okay.
It's carried the whole industry. Yeah. That's an example of disinfo. There's a lot of disinfo out there, and so we debate how much we should weigh in. Of course, me coming in, I'm like, let's correct the record a little bit. So that's one on the highest level, how the firm operates.
Sure.
In terms of where things are going, I'm excited that you'll have both Martine and Anj today, because in AI we have and David George, we have a big debate internally around defensibility, and Is it going to look like previous platforms where if it's not state, that's the moat because state can be exported. It's context. Context is the moat, and that you chat with ChatGPT and it gets to know you better, and that's what's going to keep you. Or is it brand? Are these things just moving so fast? We hear all the time about people who are building Cursor for X, that brand is what keeps people going, even if it's not context, or are they just not as defensible as previous players. But the numbers don't lie, and the user growth and the revenue growth is just astronomical. And as aggressive as we have been, we talk internally like we should be being more aggressive. We should have been more aggressive. There's winners in every category, and it doesn't seem like they have dominant market share. That's a mistake that we've made historically, is like thinking, OpenAI won this, so there's not going to be another big provider and on either the model layer or the apps. And so it seems like the market is expanding where OpenAI continues to do phenomenally well, and also there's winners across the stack and room for more. So
how has your mindset shifted being at a platform multi-stage fund now, where historically if you were investing, maybe you could do personal checks across different stages, but ultimately you're very early stage focused. Has it been enjoyable being at a such a scaled fund where you can realize like, I didn't get into the Series A of that company, but I want to meet the founder now, so and really get to know them, so we have an opportunity to be in the B or the C or the D, right? Like there's really no sort of cap on when you guys can get involved and partner with the company, and that's a totally different mindset of being able to think like truly long term.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of both, great, because on the angel side or seed side, it's easier to invest in people who are doing the same thing, or sort of YC is in God knows how many competitors, companies that absolutely hate each other. I'm not going to mention names, but you can get sense. And bigger multi-stage firms just don't have that same luxury. So you got to pick, and you got to be right. And also to your point, if you don't hit something in the A, we weren't the earliest backer of Anduril, but we're the second biggest backer now because we just caught it at the right time and just backed it all the way afterwards. So even if you don't get in at the seed or the A, and I was spending a lot of time with the growth team, there's big opportunity to get involved. So that's an encouraging sign. And just once, like, I didn't know what I didn't know. It's kind of like I used to live in Detroit, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I was like, why do I live in Detroit? Why did I live in Detroit? And it's similarly like just being at a place like this, I didn't quite realize what I was missing.
That's great. Well, let's kick it over to Jen. I know we're running over time already, and I'm sure we're going to be bumping up against stuff all day long. But thank you so much for hopping on and kicking it off.
TBPN correspondent signing off. Thank you.
Always great to see you, Erik.